What do CEOs need to know about sales these days? A lot. Outdated sales strategies and tactics plague most companies today. Listen to what innovative CEOs and experts have to say about how to change all that with Sales Talk for CEOs. Need more sales? Hire more salespeople. Wouldn't it be great if it was that easy? Welcome to Sales Talk for CEOs. Today's a solo episode, and I want to talk to you about the capacity of your salespeople. So, what is capacity and how do we know if we're hitting it? That's the topic for discussion. When your company isn't hitting its revenue goal, a few things happen. More pressure is put on the existing sales team. Some salespeople are fired, and there's a tendency to want to hire new salespeople who will do a better job. And many sales leaders feel that in order to increase sales, you have to hire more salespeople. But that's not always the case. I mean, sometimes you do have to hire more salespeople, and certainly you also have to replace some of the salespeople who are not hitting their goals. Of course, we don't do that until we've given them every bit of training and all the tools that they need, and you have done your part to make sure that they can hit their goal. But sometimes it's necessary. But how do you really know when you need to hire to increase sales? How do you know when your current salespeople are at capacity? I think this is something that many of us just don't think about enough as CEOs. And we need to advise our sales leaders to do this. So, are there more deals than your salespeople can follow up with? Right? So, are there more leads coming in than can be quickly followed up on, appropriately followed up on? It's not usually the case, but if it is, you might need to hire more salespeople. And are the current salespeople scheduled booked with sales calls? So their schedules are packed. They can't fit another sales call on the schedule. Those are two ways that you would know that your salespeople were at capacity. So before you hire more salespeople, in most cases, but not always, because with some startups, this is different, I recommend you get the salespeople that you have working to capacity and then figure out how to increase that capacity before you go out and hire more. So let's review how you know for sure that your sellers have hit capacity. I have a few notes here. I want to make sure that I hit every one of them. So the first thing is consistent quota attainment. When a salesperson regularly meets or exceeds their sales quota, it's a sign that they're operating at full capacity, or occasionally it can be a sign that you don't have the right goals set. But typically, if you've set your goals well and your salespeople are hitting them, they're operating at full capacity. The workload saturation is another one. If the salesperson's calendar is consistently full with customer meetings, follow-up, and administrative tasks, leaving little room for additional activities, that may mean that they're at capacity. You have to take a look at what they're doing and how they're doing it to make sure they are spending their time wisely. But when you look at their calendars and it's packed with all the right things, probably at capacity. Pipeline management. A full and well-managed pipeline with a healthy number of prospects at all the different stages, right, indicates that the salesperson is working at their maximum capacity. And this is why pipeline reviews, or funnel reviews, as I call them, are so important. You absolutely have to take a look to see if there is a healthy funnel, if there are enough opportunities in every stage for that seller to hit their goal. Time management. Now, this is, a tough one, right? And sometimes salespeople with really poor time management skills still hit their goals. And that's fantastic, amazing. But imagine if they had better time management, they could probably exceed those goals. So when a salesperson struggles to take on additional accounts or leads without compromising the quality of their work, right? Or with it's compromising the quality of their work, then you have a problem, right? So you want to make sure that you're looking at their time management. So if they can't take on anything additional without sacrificing the quality of their work, it suggests that they are at capacity. Productivity is another one. And productivity metrics, of course, you should have those. And analyzing those key performance indicators that you've given the salespeople, such as number of calls made, number of appointments, number of conversations with people who can buy. When you're looking at all of these things, number of deals closed, right? When you're looking at these KPIs, and the salesperson has reached their limit and has met those KPIs, they're probably at capacity. So the question is, are your salespeople at capacity? If they're not, your sales leaders have some work to do. It may be training or coaching in any of the areas that I mentioned. They may need to develop the salespeople in time management, pipeline management, sales skills, and sales activities. So this is the first piece, right? Are the salespeople at capacity? Now, if they're not hitting their goal, if they're not hitting their KPIs, it's real obvious. So do the work, have those sales leaders do the work to try and get those salespeople to capacity. If they can't, those may not be the right players and they may need to be released to go on to their next adventure. But do everything you can to get your salespeople to capacity. As the CEO, part of your role in sales is to ensure that the sales leaders can do this, right? So if they can't, you need to get some help and make sure that they can. Now, if your salespeople are at capacity, that's wonderful. Great. I mean, fantastic. They're at capacity. They're all doing everything they can every day and they're doing it right and they're hitting their goals. Hire more salespeople now? Not necessarily. I would first look to see how I could increase their capacity, right? Because what we want to do is keep the cost of the sale low and have each salesperson working at their maximum. So, if they are at capacity, what can you do to increase their capacity before you bring on more sellers, or maybe simultaneously while you are bringing on more sellers? So, the number one thing, and I tell people this all the time, I talk to CEOs about this, and they're very resistant, but it is the number one thing you can do to increase their capacity: reduce the administrative burden. Salespeople spend a lot of time doing tasks that could be done by pretty much anyone or by AI. So we have to reduce this administrative burden. Hire administrative assistants. You can get maybe one for every 3 salespeople and help keep that paperwork moving, help with repetitive tasks, help with keeping data clean, those kinds of things. Or you can implement systems to handle paperwork and non-selling activities. That allows a salesperson to focus more on revenue generating tasks. So imagine if you could take an hour or two of administrative work off their plate every day, how much more time could they spend with their customers? So spend money there. It's a great place, right, to spend the money because it increases the capacity of the sellers. Another one is leveraging technology, of course. And today with AI, there are just so many tools. But remember, we don't want to over tool. And if we're going to pick up a tool, we need to make sure everyone's trained to use it properly so it actually does give you the economy of scale that you're looking for. So provide up-to-date tools and software that can automate any routine tasks, streamline processes, or increase overall efficiency. Another thing that you can do to increase capacity is provide training. Now, you're probably doing that anyway, but once salespeople are at capacity, they may need a different type of training than you're providing right now. So, offer targeted training on those skills that will help them move from capacity to over capacity, right? Well, it won't really be over, it'll be their new capacity, right? and improve their time management. I mean, everyone needs to improve their time management. It's an ongoing process. So what else can you do in that way? And then introduce new sales techniques that can boost productivity. I think that there are a lot of things that salespeople slip into that aren't highly productive. We want to change those behaviors and make sure that we're really maximizing, right? All right. Another thing that you can do is optimize territory and account management. So if they're at capacity, take a look at their territory, reassess and reallocate accounts or territories to ensure there's a balanced workload. Some people's territories might be too big, some may be too small. So when we talk about territory, remember that we mean it could be a geographic territory, a vertical territory, or just a set of named accounts that they're working on. But take a look and rebalance those if you need to. You can also implement appointment setters. Now, some companies already have this. They have SDRs or BDRs, sales development reps or business development reps that set appointments. But if you don't have that, you might want to add that. So if your sellers are doing full cycle selling and they're at capacity, a way to free up some of their time is to have someone else setting their appointments. Now, this could happen by hiring an administrative person to help them or specifically hiring appointment setters. But either way, think whether that will be something that will allow them to have more capacity because they can spend more time on higher value activities like closing deals, keeping things moving, right? Enhancing sales enablement is another great way to improve their capacity, right? Equip the salesperson with better resources, content, tools, and make sure that their processes are highly efficient and effective. So if you don't have sales enablement at your company and you need to increase capacity, maybe you could hire a fractional sales enablement person to do a project and figure out what ways they could increase the capacity. So one other thing, like two other things really that I want to go over. Revising the compensation plans. So sometimes in order to increase capacity, you have to adjust the commission structure because salespeople are going to do what you pay them to do. And they may be focused on things that you wanted them to do 1, 2, or 3 years ago because you haven't changed your commission plan, right? And those things may be preventing them from having the capacity you want them to have. So look at the compensation plan, make sure it's the right plan. The commission is incentivizing them to do the things that you want them to do, and perhaps change it to incentivize them to do even higher performance activities and motivate them to take on these additional responsibilities or this additional capacity. So look at your compensation plan. And then lastly, improve the lead quality. And when I say lastly, it's not like the last thing you should do, but it is an important thing you should do, which is take a look at the quality of the leads. If you want to increase capacity, give the sellers better leads, right? So if they have a lot of leads that need a lot of qualifying and they're really not great leads, it's a waste of their time. So what can you do to improve that lead quality? Maybe you can refine your lead generation and qualification process. Maybe there's some things that marketing can do, but make sure the sellers are working with high quality prospects, and that will increase their conversion rates and their overall capacity. So think about that as well. And let me just review those really quickly. Reduce the administrative burden, leverage technology, provide training, optimize territory and account management, implement appointment setters if you don't have them, enhance sales enablement, revise the compensation plan, and improve lead quality. Those are all things that you can do to increase a seller's capacity. And by implementing these strategies, you can help top performers increase without the risk of burnout and compromising the quality of their work. Just asking people to do more and work more hours is not the key to this, right? Increasing capacity means that you're doing specific things to make it easier for them to have more time to do these high payoff activities that will increase sales in the end. All right. So that's a lot. Take a look at the show notes and I'll put a few things there to help you. But consistently review whether your sellers are at capacity. This is just not something to do once a year. I'd probably do it once a quarter. See if they're at capacity and make the adjustments to increase their capacity. You'll be amazed. I have a story of a startup founder who was about 5 years in, and she had some really incredible salespeople, and they were doing a lot. She tried adding people to the team, but they just weren't getting up to speed quickly enough, and they also were not really producing the way her current sellers were. So she thought, gosh, how could I increase their capacity so they can sell, 3 sellers can sell as much as 4 or 5 sellers? And she simply hired an assistant who was amazing, right? An assistant who put a lot of process in place, who took away a lot of administrative tasks, who implemented some tools and processes. And her sellers were able to almost double their capacity. And that doubled sales without hiring any extra salespeople. So I really implore you to take a look at this. And if you have everyone working at capacity and you've increased their capacity, great. Go hire more salespeople and bring them into this system that you've built to get them to capacity very quickly and beyond. If you are going to need help with this, don't worry. I'm happy to discuss it with you. Just reach out to me on LinkedIn or email me at alice@alicehyman.com. If you enjoyed the show, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.